Yeah, welcome to Debate the Facts, motherfuckers. Tonight we have a very special Battle Kitty Big Gay Birthday Blowout! Little Vegas right down there in the corner.
Happy birthday,
Motherfucker,
Matt.
Battle Kitty in the
Happy
house. Oh,
39
What's up, little nigga?
motherfucking years. This
Battle
motherfucker
Kitty.
is older than me.
Yeah.
I'm the
Oh,
oldest
shit.
one here and the youngest boy T.
You the
Happy
oldest.
birthday, Matthew.
PT.
You the
Battle
oldest out of all of
Kitty.
us. Now, we brought the Battle Kitty back for the special birthday present.
Yeah,
Like,
I
cause
get
usually,
to be on the show and that's my present because I get to be on
that's
YouTube.
your birthday
And
present.
it's
You
a
get to be
special
on the
day.
show after being banned.
You guys gotta let me edit the show and I'll send you clips and play it. Cause I edited my new Instagram video. If you guys singing me happy birthday, and I'm trying to shorten it down to about like 4 or 5 minutes. And that's I'm gonna send it to you. Can you play it after I edit it?
No.
My editing skills are one thing, the quality of the
Yeah,
is
see.
another.
Let's see.
And what is that? Is that a pornographic napkin?
Yeah, it's pornographic.
Is that one of your birthday presents?
It has these are
Is that a hentai?
cherry blossom comfortable.
Wait, what?
The cherry blossoms have sex with each other, and this is the pollen that falls out of the vagina.
Oh, very cold.
You asked me if I can make this pornographic, right?
What does that even mean?
This man got a Japanese cum rag. Unbelievable.
Now, in
But
honor
I'm
of
going more for the angle of how I'm going to portray myself as the actor on the Showmakers. That's what I'm.
On that note,
Who am
I
I?
have to leave, but happy birthday, Matthew. And I will
Thank you.
watch this birthday
Thank
bash
you.
tomorrow morning.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, James.
all right, so we got the
Happy
Battle Kitty
birthday,
birthday.
Matthew. Peace out, Gibson.
We got the
What
Battle
you got,
Kitty
Jimmy?
birthday, and in order, right, we know how unwatchable Matthew is, so we're gonna have to do some special review. And Matthew, what review would you like that to be?
Review what I like.
We're gonna have to do a review because you're lame,
Okay, but listen.
even on your birthday.
I have amazing news to your viewing audience. I dedicate myself to you, Tyler, to be the editor of the very first Showmakers movie, and I hope you take me up on that.
How about no? Let's find out, Matthew. What do you want us to review tonight?
Yeah.
We can't do Muslims because that's food. We can't do atheists because that's lame. We can't do
Thank you.
Christians because that's fucking boring.
Right.
Let's review our video from the 2020 election.
You want us to review ourselves? Is that just still up?
Let's review our Showmakers video of covering election night.
Yeah, let's do this. Hold on, let me see. You know where that shit is? I think it's up here.
You can jump as much as you want. It's like a 5-hour video. Yeah.
We're gonna review ourselves.
Oh, God, that thing is super long. You talking about... Alright. I know where it's at.
The election one. The election night.
Oh, dear Lord.
Election night. When we had the correct map. The correct map was on our show only. We were the only one who had the correct map.
Hold on. There we go. Stop that. That's a ways. That's a ways.
This fucker got.
Right. You found it because you're in the Legion of 500 black men. And you guys had exclusive privileges of black supporters of Donald Trump to get like the real information. You had the right map. You were like 500, 1,000 people in United States who had the right map. You're one of them.
The League of Black Men.
Yeah, there's like 500, 1,000. It's a legion.
Yes, we are a legion.
A legion is supposed to be 1,000, but I think it's actually like 500. Sorry.
Alright, hold on.
You gotta be nice to this little big gay birthday party we got going here. He's a 40-year-old virgin. Big to the tide is back.
Election night 2020.
Hey,
Oh my God.
Don't review that. I sent you another one, Ray, that is a big one. It was me hosting two guys You can
Oh,
do
okay.
that one and
No, do the election. Don't do James Gibson's boring shit.
What?
What?
You
roasted by Matthew tonight.
Oh
Matthew,
It's
you
my
can
birthday, James Gibson.
Thank
Why
you,
not do my video?
James.
Matthew, think of this. Now you can roast me during the whole entire video.
Okay, another night. But I want to watch election coverage. I want to watch our election coverage.
Hold
This
on.
fucker wants Matthew wants us to relive the pain and anguish we suffered in November.
No,
election
I want
night.
to figure out
Matthew.
concrete evidence that Donald Trump won the
Matthew, I'm
election.
trying to save you from yourself. Review anything. Oh, Taylor, you can
We're
review.
gonna watch.
You can review
our
T
coverage
Jump
of
on
the
tap.
election, and we're gonna look up everything we say because we notice things. Everything we notice, we're gonna watch ourselves coverage. What we noticed, and we're gonna analyze what we said about what we noticed to see whether or not we saw anything. And we're gonna find evidence that Donald Trump won the election by watching what we said.
Well, I'm be real with you, Matthew. I know it's your birthday. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, but this is still debate the motherfucking facts.
We can
And
debate. We're gonna have a debate amongst each other about where the evidence is inside our coverage of election.
Roll the video. Yeah, fuck is fuck.
God damn it, you guys lured me onto the fucking debate the fat one. The fucking promise of birthday cake and streamers.
Welcome back, Mr. Saunders.
You're ruining my birthday.
Yes.
It's my birthday.
No birthday cake.
My birthday.
Alright, I'm sorry, Matthew. You're right. We're ruining your birthday. We're ruining your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Alright, put the shit up. We're gonna review it.
Man, I prefer be punching pie. I'm not
the election night or Khalil's conversion. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Alright, cool. It's already up.
We need to do a real review.
You gotta share it.
What is happening in the spiritual world? I adamantly want Donald Trump to be a god when he dies in my pietistic religion. I want Donald Trump to have a version of America in the afterlife, where he is the eternal president in the afterlife for people that are in his world. It's very important to me that we do this.
Khalil's conversion. So they brought us a Khalil Allah, a classic.
I'm like this.
Matthew said it can't be Muslims or atheists, and he gets both.
He knows human nature. He can't be a god when he dies. If he's just favored enough to be known as.
We got Daz in here. Welcome to the birthday blowout.
Daz.
Hey.
Welcome, Brad.
Having some serious impacts on things like the news and stuff like that, yo. I've been
Matthew's birthday.
I've been noticing shit about
whose birthday is it?
Matthew.
That thing, like, there could be God, pietistic God.
It's a Battle Kitty Big Gay Blowout. That's the only reason he's on the show again.
I
This is
love
his
it.
birthday.
He's not going to shut up the whole show, is he?
No, it's a birthday.
He's doing the hand signals and shit, so you know he's on fire. He is on motherfucking fire right now. And he's got the backwards cap on. Matt, show us the cap. No, put that bitch on backwards, dog. Yeah, there we go. No, the way you had it though.
What's being reviewed?
That's Battle Kitty.
We're gonna do it's AP and Khalil Allah. James came in and fucking poked it.
Okay, the motherfucking Battle Kitty's gonna be quiet while you do your video, because I don't really interact with friends.
Matthew.
So you
That's
guys
Matthew.
He's unwatchable.
I'll tell you what. I promise you, when I do my show, we'll review the election night. I'll bring you on, but you gotta be ready, okay?
I don't want to relive that shit.
It was 5 hours.
I don't want to relive that fucking being elected again.
I just looked at the timer of that job. I was like, oh, hell no. We'll be in this bitch for like. It'll be time for me to go to work.
We watch him win, and then he lost.
When we watch the election night,
and we got to deal with the fucking Battle Kitty.
Okay, I'll be quiet. I'll edit my video.
All right.
My video.
I love you. I love you, Matt.
I know. Let's see it.
Oh,
Let's see
yeah.
it.
I'm better than you, I know.
Ah. And ladies and gentlemen, let's thank once again James is Tired for allowing us to review this wonderful debate between Khalil and Apostate Prophet. Is that how you pronounce it?
Kalilala.
Alhamdulillah.
So, who's this prostate prophet guy?
Prostate. Oh my gosh.
Prostate.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm fucking done.
All right, let's see it. Let's
Go
see
ahead.
What's,
All right,
what
so, yeah.
fucking shenanigans are going on tonight?
Yeah. I heard this was juicy.
Once again, thank you, Jay Payne, for giving me the music. Guys,
I'm worried that if you rub this prostate prophet guy the wrong way, he might explode.
The way this will be structured is Khalil will start off first, giving kind of his reasons for becoming a Muslim, and then Apostate will next. After a half an hour, we'll kick it over, and then Apostate will give his reasons for leaving Islam, and Khalil will interact. And then after that time, we're going to give a good 15 minutes, hopefully 20 maybe tops, to answer some questions from you guys in the chat. So ask a question, tag James is Tired, and then we'll go from there. And then at the very end, we'll also plug what you guys are doing now. Thank you two guys for joining me.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I want to say real quick before I get started, the chat is very lively right now for James' channel, and I want to make sure that anybody that has
I get a
come
mention
over
here.
from my
I get a
channel
mention,
or
by the
any
way.
brothers and sisters out there, make sure we stay respectful in the chat. These discussions can get contentious, but as you guys know me, even from an atheist, I was always one to be respectful, try to be charitable to the person's position, even though you disagree with it.
Very
So
true.
let's try to
I'm
be
about to be
charitable.
Oh my God.
I'm about to be name dropped. Come on.
I'm speaking to my atheist buddies out there
Silence.
too, because I'm
Listen.
already seeing Daz is at work.
Oh no, that's not mentioned. Holy shit.
I would also like to add, I completely agree with that. I think the purpose here should be to understand each other, to
I'm already
seek and
fucking
find
that
the
child.
truth. We can, each of us can change our minds, and not be to humiliate and to attack each other. So I would also just ask and request everyone to be just nice and good and understanding. And thanks, everybody.
Nice and good and understanding.
All right, so I will start off. Basically, we're going to give.
I'm trying to down a little bit
I'll
more.
take 5-10 minutes to give one AP over here the ability to hear my testimony, and anybody that's in the chat that has not heard it before. So I'll start off by saying that I was born Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, was baptized.
Oh boy, here's the story.
Thank you. I was just sitting there thinking the same thing.
Confession,
About to look at my tiny violin.
confirmation, the whole works. When I was in second grade, I was told by my science teacher that if I didn't turn in my homework,
if he doesn't do his homework, he goes to hell. We've heard the story, Dusty. We
second
know
grader, that scared the living
the
hell out of me.
story.
So eventually, after that happened a few different times, my mom ended up pulling me out of school.
And then the preacher touched me.
Out of the private Catholic school that I was at, and put me in a public school.
I was
So I grew up in a
ordained.
Christian church, a little bit more laid back. Joined the youth group, was part of the youth group for a while. Started to get more involved with the youth group, more as like a leader of some sorts when I was starting to get older. Was told that I was filled with the Holy Spirit, and that I needed to go become a preacher. When I went to go become a preacher, well, I didn't go yet. I was preparing to do it.
Preacher, I got
was a few
bachelor
months out of
backstory.
thinking
I
about
got the
going to
freaking
seminary,
backstory.
and before I did that, I wanted to
When am I
going to
stop saying this nonsense? Over.
Maybe be a couple steps ahead of some of the other people, some of my peers that I might be in seminary with. When I did that,
You mean a
I
few
read
steps
some stories
behind?
about bears coming out and mauling children to death. I read some stories about, God making a deal with a father that the first thing that walks through his door he'd sacrifice. The
Kept his daughter. Hey, you gotta do it. I remember I was talking about that in the chat.
Ended up going through with the deal and killed his daughter. All these other different stories that were in the Bible, and this was like, to me, this was new news. I have
Did he say new news?
I have not heard these stories at the pulpit before.
Oh, he said
Yeah,
new
the stories
news.
like
Daylights
fuck
out of
you,
me
you
saying, hey,
fucking
this isn't
liar.
my God. This isn't the God that I believe in. So I ended up stepping away from Christianity at that point.
Yeah, pause the shit.
And considering myself an agnostic, not...
This motherfucker tells the same story every time. That's like the only little tick. I remember this. I was in his show talking about Jephthah's daughter with him. He had no fucking clue what I was talking about. Now it's incorporated into his little fucking gay backstory that he tells everybody. It's like, come on, Justin.
What I've noticed is that if you're a fringe YouTuber, you need a background story.
Yes. An origin tale and all that good shit.
I was going to become a preacher, but then I didn't.
I read in the Bible that some kids were being mauled by a fucking alley cat, and it just wasn't enough for me, man. I'm done. I'm fucking done.
That's what you get for fucking making fun of a dude's hairline, man. That sounds like justice to me.
Getting mauled by a bear, that's like one of the most awesome fucking things ever. Like Leonardo DiCaprio won an Oscar for being mauled by a bear. Justin. No. That's what turned you off? It's the Bible. There's all kinds of crass shit up in there.
Such a fucking loser, man. He tells the story over and over again. He adds a little bit and subtracts a little bit from it every time. He's got the faith, the baptism, the confirmation, the work. Okay. I read the stories in the Bible I didn't like the one about the bear. Now he's got Jephthah's daughter. Next is gonna be about it's gonna be about like cutting David's head off when he finds out about that one.
Oh man. Well, it's a good thing we don't have a story about Jesus marrying a fucking 9-year-old, so I guess, you know, there's that.
Not knowing if God existed or not. I do admit that my leaving of the Christian faith was of an emotional and moral issues that I had, and I do not believe that leaving a God belief, you can leave a system of belief, but to become a non-believer and say that God doesn't exist because of emotional reasons, I would say I wouldn't actually agree with that. So I think that I left Christianity for bad reasons. Though becoming an atheist, I studied more and more when it comes to philosophy, logic, reason, dove into science, started reading, books about astrophysics, started reading books about biology and
astrophysics
about the natural world that we observe, and started to build logical arguments against the existence of God.
Earlier
so
today,
eventually went from an agnostic.
Is he smart enough to be an astrophysicist?
Making the positive claim that it's
barely
impossible
smart
for
enough
God
to be a
to exist.
fucking. What does he do?
Using things like the problem of evil, using things like
electrician,
the paradox to make the claim that God does not exist. Through this time, I ended up making a YouTube channel called The Empathetic Atheist.
I think he's like of the porn star variety,
what they believe, why they believe,
kind of just goes over to like middle-aged housewives and shit, and they're like,
I can't pay the bill. If it ended up convincing me, because we cannot choose what we're convinced of. So what I did, I ended up getting in touch with a Facebook group that I was in. We'd get on the calls. James actually, he was on the calls with me for what, about maybe 2 years now. We've been doing it, where we have all kinds of people with all kinds of beliefs come into these Facebook groups, and we discuss what we believe and why. So through that, I met some Muslim philosophers, some people that wouldn't call themselves academics, but I believe that they're very, very intelligent people. Actually, interacted with these guys. They would be the guys, Brother Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, Abdul Rahman, Brother Sharif, Hatem. Hanif,
yeah, them guys are real fucking humble, Justin.
7 of them that came in. They just started obliterating people's worldviews, tearing Christianity apart. In my opinion, tearing other, Hinduism, all kinds of belief systems, including atheism. So I was the atheist. I was going to bring these guys down. I was going to go really do some studying on.
No, they obliterate your worldview.
Islam is not correct, just to keep them in their lane. So through my studies and through my refutations, it was about a year's worth of time, around 8 months. I would say between 8 and 10 months, that we talked to each other. and me trying to bring new things every single day to try and refute their position, I found that there was always an answer. There was always something that could solve the problem. So there was and these things were more of a philosophical issue. So through these things, at the end of the day, I ended up, putting a kufi on and saying my shahada at the very end, becoming a Muslim, alhamdulillah. The route that I went to get through this discussion I had with these Muslims, these Muslim brothers of mine now, it started off dealing with like epistemology. Started dealing with, can we hold reasonable beliefs without empirical evidence? So we looked at like the laws of logic, looking at identity, saying, hey, this is something that's called a presupposition. There is no empirical evidence for it. You must assume it. You come to name drop on them big words to even reason or observe anything in a reality. So I was fine with that. Then we went into what's called the Kalam cosmological argument. After studying epistemology, it seemed like it came with a different light. And I think it was articulated differently than I normally would have heard. So basically everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause. That is it. Me, as a very recent atheist, would see the William Lane Craig version and deny the William Lane Craig version of the Kalam because he puts this thing at the very end, and we call this thing God. That's jumping to conclusions. We shouldn't even be close to even saying the word God right now. So after that, you go into the contingency argument, which AP just recently talked to the brothers about. So you know very well the articulation that I would make if I was in direct line with them and how they would reason for the contingency argument. You kind of know that argument already. So after the contingency argument, and we can go into all this in detail if you'd like, because this is the path towards my belief in Allah. So after that, we look at the argument for intelligence, argument for will, free will, for God having free will, and then sustainability. And then after that, I used a process of elimination to use the classical laws of logic and looking at things to see if they're coherent or incoherent, and taking worldviews that have direct contradictions and putting them to the side, basically throwing them out the window.
I eliminate all logic and reason,
not resolved,
and then I can.
So at the end of the day, I saw, and I could be wrong, I saw with what I would consider fallible knowledge, that right now, although I don't know everything about Islam and I'm still studying it,
Jesus as a
right
savior.
Now, the most current reasonable position for me would be to hold Islam until otherwise shown.
What all he hears about that thing where you can't listen to music?
Discussion with AP about if that process that I came to from having these discussions with the Muslims all the way up until
he's a fucking dunce.
If that process was reasonable,
that would suit him.
Bro, that's not a dunce hat. That's called a kufi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're muted, AP.
Alhamdulillah.
Is that what we're doing? 10 minutes? I'm sorry if I missed that part. But
yeah, we're just doing like a 5 to 10 minute, testimony on that's how I came to it, and then once we're done speaking about
just
me,
second review we did with AP. Is that correct, Taylor?
Okay. Yep. So I made a few notes while you were talking about your experience with Christianity, the revelations that you had about the Christian belief in Scripture, how you left it. You admitted very well. I appreciate that leaving Christianity was more due to a moral or emotional matter, which I cannot judge or blame. I just have one question about that before I move on. Could Christianity still be true despite your moral disagreements and your disgust with specific things within Christianity?
Yes, so the reason why I deny Christianity now is not based on a moral issue. It's based on logical issues. So I have issues with the Trinity. There's something called the logical problem of the Trinity. There's the logical problem of the Incarnation, and that actually trickles over to issues with the atonement also. So the three key tenets of Christianity show to be problematic for me, and for me to open the door of entertaining Christianity again, those would need to be resolved.
I understand. When it comes to Islam, if you are convinced that Islam is true, logically seen, if the theology of it and the explanation of the world and of causality and all that makes sense to you, but nevertheless you still come to the conclusion that certain elements within Islam are disgusting or morally disturbing to you, would that be a problem, or would you simply explain them away because you know that Islam is true?
Because I have come to the belief from a philosophical lens rather than reading the Quran and, having some type of personal experience or having some emotional feeling towards Islam or towards the Quran. Like I said, I left emotions out of it completely and just dealt with it logically as to not make the same.
You don't have to pronounce it like that, Justin. Just say Quran.
So with studying that, or with getting into that, there are, as of right now, things that I am battling with when it comes to my subjective opinion on certain things.
Actually reading your Quran.
Knowing that these things are considered sins, knowing these things are haram, but me not having the understanding of exactly why, and me as a human being having the questions, why are these things wrong? So yes, I have things that are possibly, in my mind, I don't really understand why they're wrong, but then again, Allah knows best. It says it about 1,000,000 times in the Quran.
I'm so tempted right now to go into certain moral arguments of Islamic laws to address that, but I feel like it would just derail from a very important topic that we're dealing with.
Yeah, wait, hold on.
We can definitely set that up for a future episode.
Sure, that could happen.
And then supposed to be doing it like his opening.
What I see from how you have explained your journey through
he goes right into the investigation,
religions and atheism into Islam. What I see is that you went through an elimination process, but I don't exactly see how you arrived at Islam. I mean, you said it. Other things didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Islam had a better explanation, but how exactly did you come to the conclusion that Islam must be true? What was it about Islam itself?
Get ready!
Yes!
Sure. So I wouldn't say that I'm at a conclusion, because I'm still open to say right now that I will leave Islam.
Okay.
I will openly say that right now. I'm ready to leave Islam once the falsification process has been...
He's not at a conclusion, but Alan
to where one falsification process is if the Quran is the speak and breathed word of Allah, there should not be any contradictions within that book through an internal critique. If somebody brings me something that is an apparent contradiction that cannot be resolved, well then I will go ahead and put the Quran to the side and leave Islam. Because that, to be consistent, that's what I did with any other worldview that I pushed to the side, was because it had a direct contradiction through an internal critique.
And what is it that brought you to Islam? What is it about it that made you convert to Islam?
So the positives for Islam, other than just stating that this is the one worldview that I'm not seeing having any type of contradictions or being completely incoherent in my mind, that's one reason, but that is a very low bar to set. That does not mean that it's true. Just because it doesn't contradict doesn't mean that it's true. Right now, I could say that I could have no kids and no wife, and there's nothing contradictory about that. But I do. I have 5 kids and a wife. So even though I could give you something that's not contradictory, that doesn't mean that it's true. So there has to be something that draws to me through the belief system, like a positive, like positive attributes of Islam that would draw to me as saying that it is most likely the case that it's true. And one of those very, very important things is one of the first surahs that I learned. And it goes, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Which obviously, AP, you know what that means.
Sounds like he was speaking Russian there. I don't know.
Hula had a hula hula hula. It's the same argument. Dude, the shit, like the shit is the argument for Jake's argument for Tawheed. It's fucking Justin's introduction to every show. This a hula had a hula had a hula had it means something important to these fucking idiots. They just can't explain it to us. Like for real, I've heard you've heard it. I've heard it. They say it over and over again. What the fuck does that mean?
What does it mean? Translate that Klingon for me, bruh, because I don't know what the fuck it means.
The Quran says a hula had a hula had a hula had a hula ha.
Unbelievable.
How many times have we heard him say this?
Apostate AP. See, Daz and AP, they know exactly what it means. Alhamdulillah.
The entirely merciful, the especially merciful say he is one. He is the eternal refuge and self-sufficient. He is not beget, nor is he born, and there is nothing in existence like Allah. So when going through things like the kalam and the contingency argument, speaking about a necessary being, by definition, a necessary being is something that is self-sufficient, something that doesn't need anything else for its existence, no dependencies whatsoever.
He's like sandwiching everything, like little footnotes for like every tap show.
With those definitions, like almost to the T, like literally to the words of the definitions of what a necessary.
You're a sensitive guy.
Can I ask two questions about this? One question is, could you accept the possibility or imagine the possibility that no religion out there is true?
Yeah.
I mean, it's entirely acceptable, right? That no religion gives a satisfying answer to the issues at hand.
Yeah,
and the other question is, if Islam in one way seems to make sense, but in other ways, maybe even in less relevant ways, it has very obvious flaws that cannot be overlooked. Then you could still conclude that Islam is false, right? I think you have answered this question already because you said.
I'm open to changing my mind because of that. Yes.
I understand. That is a good approach. Many times, what I see is that people simply go for one thing that makes sense within the religion, while closing their eyes to everything, every possible flaw around it. So I really appreciate
I still try to hold my atheistic, my mindset as an atheist being consistent with my standards of evidence.
I understand. Have you made yourself familiar with entirely, or did you
have not read it entirely?
Lies.
Have you made yourself familiar with certain issues like the scientific claims about the Quran and their conflict with the scientific world?
Yes.
Is that something that you're still battling with?
It is something that I'm still. A few of them I'm looking into. Like one recently that I'm looking into is something that had to do with it's called like an inheritance issue. When it comes to it's in Surah 4. You probably know what I'm talking about. So I'm looking into that current one right now. Like I said, I'm open to hearing people bring me, hey, this is a contradiction in the Quran. Go ahead and look at it. So I take some time. I really show some effort to look into it, and then either accept or deny it. But like I said, I'm trying to be as open-minded as possible.
I'm smiling because the inheritance issue in the Quran is actually something that I don't really, I don't think about very much. Other people think it's a very big problem. To me, I'm like, I don't see what you guys see in that. I have issues with how the Quran describes the sun and the moon, for example, or the stars in the sky, or the sky, or how the earth came into existence. I mean, to me, it looks like the Quran makes references to very old creation myths that are not very much reconcilable with the truths that we nowadays know about the natural world around us. But it's nice that you said you would be open to going further into those things and eventually changing your mind. One issue that I have is, so you say that you are that Islam has a good explanation for you when it comes to theology, the nature of being, and so on. What Islam basically does is it makes a claim that there is a God and there is only one God, and that God created everything. With that God, everything began. And you can very well combine that with certain ideas about, with certain cosmological arguments especially. But is that really sufficient to convert to a religion? I mean, any idea out there could make similar claims. I went into Taoism, for example, which explains the world which explains that there is a balance in the world that is impossible to define by the average human, which keeps the world in balance, which everything comes from. Buddhism has this idea of dependent origin or something like that. So different philosophical and religious ideas have different interpretations of there being a causality, of there being a cause or a mover or an unmoved mover. So this is only one certain aspect within Islam, but Islam also expects certain other things from you, such as that you accept the historicity of the Kaaba and of the Quran and of Muhammad, that he spoke the absolute truth. Like, have you ever confronted the issue of why you would trust Muhammad? What makes you trust Muhammad? Because he is a key figure next to Allah when it comes to Islam. Have you made yourself familiar with that?
Yes. So I haven't yet gone to college for it, but I do know that there is, like, you know, when it comes to like hadith, like the words that came out of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mouth. You know, we have this hadith science that in this chain of narration that seems to be testable. So, like I said, like I'm 5 months into Islam, so I'm reading books on the basics. I'm going to classes, you know, on over Skype, over video, brand new Muslim classes. So I'm learning the basics right now while arguing the more intricate philosophical levels of more of a general type of theism.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
That's where
one issue that I still have
just
is
admitted to buying something wholesale.
I'm not trying to.
This is what this is for.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand why Islam.
Okay, so like I said, like you said, that
thank you,
the
AP.
whole Surah Ikhlas. There are other religions that could possibly talk about this necessary being. So that means that Islam is not the only one that makes these claims.
Okay.
So there's other religions. Now, obviously, polytheistic religions would be out of the question because there is a necessary being, by definition is self-sufficient, and there is only one. So that would kind of bring this down to like monotheistic religions or religions with like a creator that could be self-sufficient, but there are like demigods that do their own little jobs. So when it comes to those, like I said, after I got to the general God, after I got through the Kalam, basically the definition of God is these philosophical arguments that were all piled up to bring me to general theism, stating that there is a causal principle that's a necessary and sufficient conditions for the rest of existence to even be here, and that necessary being is an intelligent agency that used its free will to create the universe or create whatever exists and now is sustaining the universe. All those arguments put together get you to that definition of God, and then you look at the claims that line up with that definition of God, and you do internal critiques to see where contradictions are. So, looking into these others, like for example, the Trinity, when it comes to Christianity, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit are all God, yet they're not each other. And if the claim is that the Father is identical to God, same with the Son and the Holy Spirit, it seems as if it violates the law of identity. Bam, contradiction, move it to the side. Let's go to the next one. And I just did that over and over again, looking for internal contradictions, then attempting to talk to people who believed in those or look at refutations or counter arguments to try and see if these things can be resolved. At the end of the day, Islam was the one that I didn't have any logical issues with. Everything that I seem to have researched was resolved, and that's why I believe that although I hold fallible knowledge and I could be wrong and I'm opening to changing my mind, I believe that through my mindset I have reasonably come to this belief and could reasonably leave this belief.
Of course, I take a little bit of an issue with your presupposition in this matter of accepting cosmological arguments such as the contingency argument or the Kalam cosmological argument as true, whereupon you then, or specific forms of it even as true, whereupon you then accept Islam as the best explanation together combined with those arguments. I would entirely contest the validity of the Kalam cosmological argument or even the contingency argument. The issue is if we went into that, we would completely go into
that's fine. I do just want to add that my renditions of the arguments that I make when it comes to the Kalam, I do not make knowledge claims in any of this.
Okay,
when somebody says the universe began to exist, they're like, well, we don't know. I absolutely agree with you. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it reasonable to believe? Like, did this microphone right here as a completed object, even though matter and energy could have existed eternally, the completed object right here, this conceptual object, did it begin to exist at some time? Sure. Okay. Did it have a cause? Can we use inductive reasoning to say that everything that we see beginning to exist has an explanation for its existence? Okay, then it seems reasonable that premise one is true. We could be wrong, but through inductive reasoning and the information that we have, it seems reasonable.
Even when it comes to the Big Bang, it's like we have certain information, certain ideas that make us think that the Big Bang is the best explanation to how the universe came to the level that it is right now. So. It was at a certain point, expanded, became hotter or colder, and so on. We have these pieces of evidence that we piece together and come to the accepted theory that there is a Big Bang which happened, but we are not entirely sure about that, and we are not entirely, fully, 100% convinced that the universe actually has a beginning, which is why it is hard to argue that these arguments are necessarily true. I love that attitude. I really love that attitude because that's how I think. I think I approach it with skepticism. If there is only a tiny little bit of chance that our convictions are not entirely true, then how could I possibly accept a certain religion is absolutely true? Is how I think. But before we run out of time with you, so I don't know if you want to quickly go through with me on this, but according to the Islamic idea, Allah was in the beginning. Allah was the most perfect being. He then created human beings. Do you know that according to the Islamic teachings, he only created human beings so they worship him and for no other purpose? That is the Islamic explanation. Okay. He created these beings perfectly, with all their details. Everything within creation is entirely his determination and his creation. The Islamic teaching is that Allah predetermined everything before he created it. And according to the Quran, the Islamic teaching is also that Allah himself guides whom he wills and leads astray whom he wills. And those whom he guides will go to heaven, where they will be happy and worship him forever. And those who are misguided will go to hell, where they will burn and suffer forever. And the Quran even explicitly says that we have created many of the humans and the jinn for hell. What I would propose here is, do you agree that it is problematic that Allah in the very beginning creates myriads of beings, of humans, in his perfect eternal state, creates flawed beings like myself for the sole purpose that we worship him? He creates me, my personality, my biological nature, my lifeline, and everything that I have. He then expects me to believe in him and to worship him. I fail to do that. I think about worshiping him, but I come to the conclusion that I simply cannot believe that this is true. And as a result of that failure, he burns me in hell. And that is apparently my fault. But we have also learned within this premise that Allah, in the very beginning, created me with all my details and my personality and decreed everything that will happen. Everything is his creation. So even if I decide not to believe in him, that was also his decree in the very beginning. Is that do you resolve this problem? Or
That used to be a huge problem. Yes. So I do resolve it. So so most of the time we believe, and I would say most Christians would posit, that God's knowledge is necessary, that he knows everything. I would state that God has three different criteria of knowledge. One is necessary knowledge about his own attributes, his omni properties, the things that he has to know about himself necessarily. He has something else called free knowledge. Free knowledge is the ability, it's contingent knowledge that could be different, it could be otherwise. And that free knowledge is knowledge that has to do with he chose the universe by which has green grass and not purple grass. The universe we live in could have had purple grass, and it wouldn't be a contradiction. It would just be a universe with a different colored grass. He could have chose a universe where I have one less hair on my head than I do right now. There's nothing contradictory about that. That's contingent knowledge that could have been a different way. I feel like as if when he created us with free will. So there's contingent knowledge that he would know that we are going to go down a certain path because we have freely chosen to go down that path. And it is contingent in the sense that it could have been otherwise. And then he also has middle knowledge. So the decisions that we didn't make, he would know what my life would be like if I lived in New York and didn't get married and have 5 kids. He would know what my life would be like in that sense. So all of that would be under an umbrella of contingent knowledge rather than necessary knowledge. So at that point in time, I could still say that he gives me the ability to make my choices. Therefore, I'm responsible for what I do.
Okay, but my issue with that is, if he has foreknowledge of everything, and if he decrees everything, and if at some point I have the option to go against my ultimate purpose and to make a choice for which I will be held accountable and punished, doesn't that mean that I have made a decision that is not part of his decree, although Allah decrees everything in the beginning?
Okay, so ask that one more time.
Sorry. If Allah decrees everything according to Islam, but I, in my lifetime, at some point, make a choice that is purely my free will, which is why I will be held responsible and punished. Doesn't that mean that my free will is outside of his decree and his creation, because it is my free will? Doesn't that mean that Allah did not create and decree everything?
Yes, so when it comes to the word decree, I see decree more like judicial system decrees that we stop at stop signs. We can freely choose to not follow that decree, but what most of us do anyways, because, well, let's face it, we don't want to pay the cop the ticket for running the stop sign. Some of us, hold to some type of well-being to where society is better if we follow the rules that have been put in place by our system. So when it comes to decree, I don't see decree as being something that's really causative, that's like dependent, or not dependent, but like a decree means that there's not any sense of like freedom of choice or anything like that. I think that there was rules and a structure put in place that we were given the ability to go against.
But the Quran says that Allah, if He did want us to believe, we would believe. But He guides and misguides whom He wills. He decides what we will eventually do and where we will eventually go. So if He could, if it is the case that if He wanted me to believe, I would believe, doesn't that mean that my eventual abode very much depends on whether He wants me to go to heaven or not?
Well, that all depends on how He does it, which I'm not God, so I wouldn't be able to explain to you exactly what He would do. But I would see as if I am a human being and He knows that I'm freely going to choose to reject Him or to start to move away from Him. He can decree I'm going to give him what he wants. Or if I want to come closer. What's up?
I'm just going to jump in to tell you that.
Yeah, pause it real quick.
Hour, so.
Damn, that was a spicy half an hour.
Yeah, you pause it. It's lame, James.
Make your reasons for Islam.
So we're gonna throw up. We're gonna
get back to it, or you can give a lot for your.
Oh, my bad.
Let's throw up what the fuck apostate prostate is talking about. Apostate prostate.
Prostate prophet.
Yeah, the prostate apostate. All right, so Quran 178 and 179. Let me grab that.
The prostate puppet.
All right, so like the
apostate prophet.
Before Justice started contradicting the Quran, the apostate prostate brought up.
Do you have your all-state assurance today?
7. What is it? Surah 7 verses 178 and 179. Al-Araf verses.
Oh, that's a good freeze frame right there. Justin picking his fucking nose and shit. You know? Meanwhile, the two smartest people in the room, All-State Prophet and James Gibson over here, fucking chilling.
Alright, so
and
I'm
then
gonna throw
Dunce
this
over
up.
here just picking his fucking nose.
I'll throw it up on the screen right now.
Put this on the screen right now.
So this is the verse he's talking about.
Is these the surahs that he was mentioning, and he wouldn't explain the background behind those?
Alright, you see my screen? Surely we have created for hell a lot of people from among jinn and mankind. They have hearts wherewith they do not understand, eyes wherewith they do not see, and ears wherewith they do not hear. They are like cattle, rather. They are much more astray than are heedless. Alright? So it says, like he said, surely we have created for hell a lot of people from among jinn and mankind. Okay? Now, when we jump over to 5156, Quran 5156, Al Duriyat, ayat 56. All right. We have, I did not create jinn and human beings except for the purpose that they should worship me.
On today's episode of Taylor Can Read, I did not create the jinns and the humans except for the purpose that they should worship me. So yeah, it's right there, Justin, dog. You're supposed to be worshiping this nigga. That's what human beings and jinn were created for. That's why the necessary being, the perfect, the almighty, the ultimate one, Allah, wants you to worship him.
Okay, so we have an apparent contradiction.
Yeah, that nigga ain't give you no fucking free will to worship him or not. My bad. I'm sorry, Taylor.
So that was the contradiction that was brought up to Justin, and Justin just went on to say, well, God has different knowledges to choose from. All right, but it's not talking about God's knowledge. It's talking about he did create humans he created the humans and jinn for worship. Then in another verse it says he created many of them for hell.
Yeah.
So your worshiping ain't gonna do shit. Right? Do we all worship Allah?
Hey, see, look, the bull Abdul Halim, he wrote it very clear and succinctly. You know, I like how they have like these different interpretations and shit. And you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you got this one guy says it all fucking fancy, the next guy says it kind of fancy, and then the third guy's like, all right, look, this is what it means. It's for the dumb motherfuckers that live on the West Coast. Bam, right there. You know?
No, but if you look at the face. Zoom in on the face of the apostate prophet.
I can't zoom. I'm on my laptop. Oh, hold on. Yes, I can.
He's sitting there.
I gotta lean forward and shit now.
He didn't answer my question. He didn't answer my question.
You don't know how to answer questions, Taylor.
I don't. What do you say? Allah give you free will, and Allah give you not free will.
You don't
answer my question at all. But it's funny. Because he's squirming around in his chair because he doesn't really know Islam.
Look, Catholic bear killer nose picker don't know how to fucking answer questions and shit. Alright? You know? Shit, he don't know how to do that.
Oh, shit is amazing. If you bring him an eternal contradiction like that, where Allah creates you for two different reasons. One, only created to worship. Some of you don't worship.
I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell.
Some of you were created for hell, and some of you were created for worship. He created all of us to be Muslims, but he don't guide all of us to be Muslims. He only created us to be Muslims and worship him, but we don't all worship him. He doesn't guide all of us. How do we reconcile that? Well, God has three different kinds of knowledge: a necessary knowledge, an essential knowledge, and a contingent knowledge.
His knowledge is on a contingent basis.
Chunk, it's up to you guys. Once again, I apologize if I killed the live chat. Newbie at editing videos. And I may have clicked the kids button, which gets rid of the live, and I fixed it now. So you can actually comment. Feel free to ask any questions. Also, yeah, my bad. Also, click the like and subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more of my damaged content. I have Matt Dillahunty debating the resurrection. Not really a debate, but a conversation with Caleb later. Arn Raw will be on tomorrow. Thank you guys for even just watching the video now. And I'm going to be quiet and let AP go.
Okay. Well, I really loved what we were just talking about, so I really feel bad going away from that.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll do another episode. It's been a fantastic conversation so far.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. Well, okay. Let's come to why I left Islam then. So my issue, I've explained this many times before. I was born into a Muslim family, a Turkish Muslim family in Germany. My family was extremely religious by their desire, as they wanted it. I would also be raised as a very religious individual with highly Islamic morals. For a very long time during my life, I did not really want to follow their Islamic upbringing properly, but the whole time during my upbringing, I also very much respected my beliefs and my responsibilities, even when I didn't fully follow them. It was only at a certain point when I was 2010 or something like that, that I decided to fully devote myself to becoming religious and letting go of certain political ideologies and ideas that I held at the time. I did become very religious. I devoted myself fully to it. I made some very radical moves that I nowadays regret. Please don't do things like that, which is getting rid of all my memories of all photographs and everything that I had in the past, which I now considered immoral and corrupt. Fully started praying, observing all my Islamic obligations, studying, reading different books from scholars, especially Ghazali, day and night, reading the Quran several times. And I did read it one time, and during that reading, it was that my father actually came in and said, maybe you should read the Quran with somebody else, because reading such an important text by yourself can raise problems and this and that, because I asked something about the shaitan in the Quran. I didn't really bother too much about that, but there were a lot of things within the Quran that bothered me, especially when it comes to the Quran's remarks, scientific claims, which I so far simply could not accept as true. I mean, as I saw it, as I had internalized it, the things that I learned in the Quran were in contradiction with what I know about the natural world around us. But I tried to suppress that as much as possible, trying to stay devout, trying to tell myself that I'm just a stupid human. I don't know. It's just, I should leave these things to more enlightened minds and to Allah. I tried to pray, tried to look for answers. I was biased toward finding proper answers to these things. I took a break from reading the Quran, practiced Islam further, tried to preach to others, tried to explain to others why it's so great and all that. I tried to read the Quran again a second time. And as I was reading it, the problems that I first encountered for the first time actually became larger, because I had not in the meantime resolved those problems well enough. I couldn't really I couldn't find satisfaction in the answers that Muslim apologists and scholars provided. So reading the Quran again, I saw new problems that I didn't see before, especially regarding the natural world around us. Things like Allah intervening in Muhammad's life and telling his guests to not sit in his house for too long. And I thought, why is this here in this book, which has no purpose for us at all? And isn't the Quran supposed to be eternal? Why is Allah making such a strange statement here in the Quran? And it was during my third reading of the Quran. I was in the military. Everything, admittedly, those were tough times. I was very depressed, very disappointed with humanity and with how everything was going. I found much more time to think about my beliefs and my ideas and to read the Quran one more time. And as I was reading it, the same things bothered me so much, and I went into finding answers which I could not find. And the doubts became stronger and stronger. I tried to respond to doubts by finding answers, accepting scholarly answers, and fasting and praying and simply trying to shut myself up, but it didn't work. Eventually, the one thing that I was left with, I'm being very quick with this right now, there's so much detail to it, it's hard to describe.
I understand.
But the one thing that was preventing me from being honest to myself about my doubts and my beliefs was that obviously I was very afraid of what the Quran says about doubting and leaving and being punished in hell and all that. But one major issue was the whole issue of predestination, free will, afterlife, and all that. I thought it is a very complex matter that Allah has created us, that he has put us on this earth, that he's testing us. Testing means that I'm confronted with a test that I myself may find very hard to solve, but what I need to do is to hold on to the truth and to pursue it and not to listen to my desires and all that. But that opened a new door, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, if Allah created me as a flawed human being, and if he gave me a mind that is capable to figure things out and to think, if he created me flawed, then can I really be punished? Can I really be blamed for thinking further, for trying to find answers, for confronting these questions, for rationalizing and doubting, going ahead with my doubts? Allah, if he's all-knowing and if he's the great God, will know that I have done my best to find the truth. If he created me flawed, he will, I believe, see that I had only good intentions and I was only after the truth. It is hard to believe that he will eventually punish me like an evil person for my terribly false conclusions, especially since my nature is flawed. And once I opened that door, I started going through with all my doubts and quickly noticed that I was just trying to put up barriers which prevented me from leaving Islam. Eventually, it took about a year or so that I concluded that the Quran's description of the sun corresponds with old thoughts of how the sun functions. The Quran's description of Allah being over the waters and creating everything on the waters. The Quran's description of Allah holding up the sky and all these things were all old understandings, old creation myths of the world around us. And these conclusions actually led me to the conclusion that I cannot accept the Quran as a completely authoritative, correct book. That together brought me also to the whole conflict between predetermination and free will. And as you have said earlier, if there is only one flaw in the Quran, which is supposed to be the absolute direct word of Allah, then that necessarily concludes that Islam is entirely false. This is a very short summary, but that's basically what happened, I would say.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I totally understand. My summary that I gave you in the very beginning was crunching about 8 months to a year. Well, not even crunching my whole entire life. Mainly that last 8 months before I became a Muslim. There's a lot of nuances that go with these, and I totally understand. So, so my first thing would be is that I listened to your summary here, and I also watched some of your videos about 3 years ago. You made a couple videos why I left Islam. I wanted to learn a little bit more about you before coming into here. Just when having these discussions, we need to prepare ourselves the best way possible, gain as much information, get to know the other person as best as we can before we enter a live platform to where we're going to be speaking in front of right now 197 people. So
this guy bragging.
Yeah. So what my first question would be was, it seems as if like through your deconstruction, as your faith slowly started to dwindle away, and then you put these walls up, and like it seemed as if there was like some type of like faith, a fake faith structure that was like, it was like a veil put over your face, like I'm done denying this stuff, but you really weren't. So and I can see that because I went through the same thing when it comes to Christianity. Are your main contentions, if the Quran is not claimed to be a science book, but claimed to be a book for just basic primitive understanding, and stating that it's not a science book, would you say that most of your reasons for it would be moral issues that you have with either Sharia or the way that you were raised? Because you brought up a few things about you being like tortured because you weren't convinced, you didn't receive, and then you're going to be punished for that. See, the way that I've been brought to the belief in Islam, and like I said, we can have a further conversation if you want to try and dispel these beliefs that I have, but the way that I see it, a kafir, like a true kafir, is not just anybody who's not a Muslim. It's somebody like Pharaoh who knew that Allah existed, like had the truth of Allah, and still rejected Allah with that belief. If you are not convinced, and you alluded to in the beginning that you that you were doing this because you were born into it. Your parents told you to do it. You weren't like super duper serious about it, and then once you started to have doubts, you tried to get serious about it, but it kind of just fell through. So you wouldn't, in my mind, you wouldn't be punished. Allah would show mercy upon you because you weren't given dawah properly. You weren't given what needs to actually set you straight in the path, so you hold tight to the rope of Allah.
Okay. Well, let me respond to these several points. One is when it comes to the Quran being a book that conveys scientific facts. I think no matter how you see it, even if you say that the Quran is not a book of science or the Quran is not meant to make scientific claims, in reality, what we see is that the Quran does make scientific claims.
Yeah.
It makes very big scientific claims. In fact, it refers to itself after making these scientific claims in many places and says, do they not see how we have raised the sky and how we have submitted how we have placed the sun into submission and this and that. So it uses these arguments over and over throughout the book as a kind of as supporting evidence that this does indeed come from the Almighty Creator who created everything. If the Quran was not making any scientific claims, then there wouldn't be any point in bringing these things up. So when it does make these claims, and especially when these claims are made with the pretense that they support the idea that this is from Allah, then we should look at them and should fact check them and see whether they are right or not. So in that regard, the Quran definitely makes scientific claims which we must verify. When it comes to the issue of doubting and being afraid of hell, I only mentioned that because the Quran, talks a lot about what will be done to the disbelievers and how Allah will punish them. And it very graphically describes that Allah will let their skin burn and give them new skin so they can feel the pain and so on. And the idea then, which as Muslims we generally learn, is that if we disbelieve, if we do not believe in Allah and Islam, then we will go to hell. We are kafir, or we are apostates, and we will go to hell. Now, the traditionalist position within, when you look at that, at who is punished, is that people who hear about Islam and who are preached about Islam and who then knowingly, willingly reject it and say, I don't take this, I disbelieve in it. Those people are kafir. If I, as a Muslim, know about this religion and I leave it, then I'm an apostate, a murtad, and a kafir. So the traditional perspective, also shown within the Quran, is not that an individual must for certain know that Islam is absolutely true and must for certain know that Allah is definitely real, and then still reject it and say, yeah, I know Islam is true, but I just don't believe in it. Then he is a kafir and then he will be burned. That position is not an orthodox position. It's not represented within Islamic scripture, and Muslims don't preach that. What they mean is that you are given a preaching of Islam, you reject it while knowing what it preaches, and thereby you are a kafir who is punished. So on that account, I would be punished simply because I did not believe in something, simply because I wasn't convinced.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you believe that the only way for Islam to be true is if it's held through the Orthodox account?
No, I think the only way for Islam to be true is if it's entirely consistent with the Quran's own teachings and with the Hadiths.
I just asked because you said a second ago that's not what the Orthodox position is, and I would say that I would be considered a Assalamu Abdul.
Thanks, Abdul.
I would not consider just Orthodox. I hold to many different minority positions when it comes to Islam. When it comes to the age of Aisha, when it comes to God existing in or outside of time, things like that. Very unorthodox views. So I don't see like how an unorthodox view that can be seen like from my reading of the Quran. Like I said, I'm somewhere in Surah 40 something right now. So I'm reading through. I've memorized and been able to recite about 4 or 5 different surahs now. Just
Ooh, look at you!
Pray for the ability to
just 4 or 5.
Brand new Muslim and do it as best as I can. But through the reading of the Quran, I have seen a certain chapter that specifically speaks about what I would see as atheists, some of them that would speak about like the cow, like Surah Bakara, that talks a lot about kafir. It talks a lot about like unbelievers. When it comes to the sense that from what I'm reading is that those who do not who know that Allah exists but yet still reject him, and then the other ones that don't believe in him because they are unsure or they have not been given their their due diligence of dawah to be able to get them to that conviction that Allah exists, that there will be mercy shown upon them. So I don't see exactly how it necessitates that if you're not Muslim, you're pretty much screwed. I see as even Muslims, Allah tips the scales when it comes to salvation. So we're judged upon our deed, which makes sense to me as an atheist. It's a lot better than accepting a representative through Christianity. It makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more reasonable to believe. Plus, Allah shows His mercy on whom He wills. So I could spend a finite amount of time in hell for things I've done after stating my shahada. So I don't see how your view is necessary within the reading of the Quran.
Well, when I said that such a view is unorthodox or not in agreement with the traditionalist position, I might have worded way, especially when I said traditionalist. What I meant is that it is not in alignment with how Islam is generally viewed, how it is viewed in the original Orthodox way, which I said because the position that only those who absolutely cognitively know that Islam is true and only those will be punished. This is a position that is not. I can't think of any significant theological creed within Islam that really accepts such a position. The Quran itself says in many places that those who do not believe in Allah, no matter what you do, they would not believe, and Allah will punish them in the hereafter. One very specific issue is about Christians, for example, in the 5th chapter, about around 573, 75 or so, I don't know. In there, it talks about how in the 70s, around those, it talks about the Christian belief in Jesus as God and as the Son of God. And it then says that those who believe in Jesus as the Son, or those who believe in Jesus as also Allah, have disbelieved, and Allah will punish them, and their eternal abode will be hell. They will stay there forever. That's what it says, for example.
Yep,
so
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, what it says is not that they know that this is false and they still insist on something terrible, which is why Allah will punish them. What it says is this is what they believe, this is what they say, and Allah will punish them for their disbelief, for their kufr. So kufr is generally understood within the context of the Quran in many places as people who, as disbelief, because you simply do not believe in it. In all honesty, just to conclude this thought, in all honesty, I don't think it makes sense. I mean, I don't think there is a big chunk of people in the world who know that Islam is true and who still reject it. That would be a very strange mindset. But I think the Islamic scripture generally agrees that I, for example, am clearly a kafir who will go to hell if I die in my current state.
Okay. So yeah, I'm reading this one right here, and it says they have certainly disbelieved who say Allah is the third of three, and there is no God except one God. And if they do not desist from what they are saying, there will surely afflict the disbelievers among them a painful punishment. So yes, I do believe that shirk is a sin. That it says many times that you should not associate partners with Allah. Mm-hmm. So there is a punishment for that, just like there's a punishment for me being adulterous after I take my shahada. There's a punishment for all types of sins. Now, I don't see where it specifically states that there's an eternity of punishment for said things, other than like kafirs. Like we could say that Pharaoh, most likely in the story of Exodus, he knew that God existed and still denied him before he died. So that would be one of the few people. So in my belief, as I've come to know Islam, is that Allah truly is, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Like he is very merciful and very gracious. So those who have not been given that exact, the proper amount of truth to be able to convince them, mercy will be shown upon them. And I also believe that even prior to this, when it comes to like the whole free will and us being thrown into this reality. There's that pre-eternal existence to where we accept this test. So if I accept this test and I'm thrown in pardon my French, but a shitstorm, I mean, I chose to enter this and I chose to take this challenge in this test. So I kind of come from maybe something very different than what you grew up with. I'm saying that we would have to try and figure out if my version of what I believe could not align whatsoever with the Quran.
In all honesty, I think you put a little bit of a Christian spin on on the Islamic doctrines, and in all honesty, I mean, it's a good thought that you have, and I would argue with all due respect that you are simply much more merciful and loving than Allah is in the narrative of Islam in the Quran. Because, as I said, Muslims vastly believe, if you go out there and say, hey, I don't believe that people who don't believe in Islam will just go to hell because they don't believe, the vast majority of Muslims will argue that this is wrong, this is a false position. It's very clear that those who disbelieve will go to hell. That's what the Quran says. If you did want to argue that only those who clearly, knowingly reject Allah will go to hell, then you would have to back that up with the Quran, with scriptural evidence, for example. What the Quran says is it describes those who disbelieve as the kafir, the kuffar. It calls those who disbelieve among the people of the scripture, the polytheists and others, kuffar, because they have rejected Allah and denied his signs. And those will be punished in hell forever. The Quran does not, on the other hand, somewhere else or anywhere else say that Allah will forgive those who do not know and die not knowing. And it does not say that Allah will, forgive those who just do not know. This is not something that the Quran teaches. It clearly, on the other hand, says, for example, in chapter 98, verse 6, which is a very good Quran verse. It says, those who disbelieved among the people of the scripture and the polytheists will be in the fire of hell, abiding therein eternally. Those are the worst of creatures. And the issue here is, you brought up that shirk is a sin that is punishable. But what is shirk? Shirk is a belief. It means that you believe something that differs from the Islamic belief about the nature of God, or about whether there is a God, or what God is. So you are in the end believing in something, not merely committing a sin, knowing that it is a sin. And for that, according to the Quran, you will be eternally punished, simply because you don't believe in Islam.
So I'm trying to look up some, because like I said, 5 months in, and I've read the Quran one time. I'm going through the surahs very over and over again, and I will state
read
that
the
I could
Quran
be
one
wrong at any
time.
point in time. But from what I have read, I have seen verses where it has talked about this, about showing mercy upon those who have not been convinced. I've also seen hadith about that talks about some things that the Prophet ﷺ said about Allah's mercy, and said about those who have not received.
Say it again.
Let's see if he gives us an actual verse.
All right. Yeah.
He's read the Quran one time, and I remember talking to him several times where he had not read the Quran. So at this point, he's read the Quran. I think in the beginning of this video, he said he hadn't read the whole Quran. He's only 5 months in.
Yeah, he said he was 5 months in. He's trying to.
He's read the Quran. He's found forgiveness.
He's got his newbie shoes on and shit. All right, wait 1 second.
The truth. It keeps referring back to receiving the truth. And from my mind, the way that I articulate that is, if I'm right here trying to give you the cosmological arguments and I get you to a general God, and I don't do good enough to get you to take your shahada and come back to Islam, then I have not given you the truth. So from those different hadith compilations, plus what I have read so far in what I've read of the Quran, I feel as if I could make an argument, and we could set this up in the future. I could make an argument that it is saying that that people who are not convinced, that just because they aren't convinced, that they will go to they will go to Jahannam for forever. I believe that since God is merciful, that He would show mercy upon those who did not. I mean, you can't choose what you're convinced of. So how is it their fault? I totally agree with you. How is it somebody's fault if they're not convinced of something to be punished for it? I don't believe that I believe that is consistent, and I also believe that God, being the entirely merciful, would show mercy upon those who have not been shown what's called the truth in many different places.
I entirely understand that. The issue here is
He's just making up his own
the
Islam.
issue here is you accept that the entire
Say it again.
I said he's just making up his own Islam.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because the shit he's saying, it's not Islam to me. I'm just like, man, you're not. That's why I say he's not a real Muslim. He a fucking weeaboo, man. He a weeaboo. But you know, too much like right. You know, you be right about somebody and they want to call you an idiot. They want to call you being, say you're intellectually dishonest and all this extra shit. But he's being intellectually dishonest right now because AP is 100% correct. Muslims will flat out tell you, you're going to fucking hell. Just like Christians will flat out tell you, you don't believe, you're going to fucking hell. I feel bad for you, but I don't feel sorry for you at the end of the day. Because you'll be in hell, and I'll be up in heaven, playing my little fucking harp and shit, or having my little 72 virgins. I know there aren't 72 virgins applied to everybody in Islam. I'm just saying. But like,
no, he's not a soldier, so he only gets 3 virgins.
He only gets 3? He's so
I think you have to be a soldier to get 72.
You gotta, right. You gotta be a fucking martyr and shit. You gotta die and die and die again for Allah in the name of Allah over and over and over. And Justin, I don't think he has it in him to do that. Shoot.
Okay.
Entire idea of Allah punishing people simply for not believing, simply for being unconvinced, is absurd. It doesn't make sense. I don't want to speak for you, but as I
agree with that.
Yeah, okay. You accept that as absurd, and I also accept that as completely absurd, which led me to the conclusion that Islam is false. Because, in all honesty, that is what Islam teaches. I understand that you want to find an alternate explanation because this explanation seems absurd, doesn't make sense. But the struggle to find a different explanation, to find a different interpretation of what Allah will do to the disbelievers is simply not found within the scriptures, the fundamental teachings of Islam. There is no such Quran verse. I mean, you could interpret Allah's mercy as pointing at a hypothetical truth where Allah forgives those who have not believed. But the evidence points to the contrary. Even in the hadiths, there is a major hadith, since you brought it up, in which Muhammad actually says that Allah will put those into heaven who have a little piece of iman in their heart, while they have deserved hellfire for their deeds. But it then also says that Allah will take out the Christians and Jews and will put them into hell for their disbelief and punish them there, while he will put those Muslims with little faith into heaven. Because this is what the Islamic view is. The Quran also teaches at the very beginning, and in Surah Baqarah, within the first minutes, that Allah has placed a seal upon the hearts of those who do not believe. They are deaf, dumb, and blind. So we do not understand, we don't see the truth. And we are people of the hellfire. Allah has created us for hell, basically. So what you are describing as absurd, with all due respect, is the Islamic belief.
I understand that, and I understand that's been your perspective, and what you grew up with, what you were taught, and you were actually in Turkey, which is what a predominantly Islamic, I would say Islamic country.
I grew up in Germany.
There's a lot more halal there than there is in Cincinnati. I'll tell you that much. But yeah. So what I'm getting at is that my experience talking to Muslims. My experience, even as a combat veteran, when I was in Afghanistan, I was there speaking with village elders. I was there, interacting with the local nationals. I was interacting with the Taliban, and I was able to talk to these people through my interpreter, and I was getting some of the same views that I'm speaking about right now, even from those who were like living in Afghanistan right now. And the Muslims that I talked to, the brothers over at the TAP show, They're explaining things to me exactly how I'm explaining things to you. So I think I think this is a cultural difference. I think that
No.
this.
You're in it. I love it. I'm in it.
Shut the fuck up, Matt.
I'm on YouTube. I just uploaded the
different
video.
belief
I'm
is-
gonna send it to Tyler. You gotta play my birthday video. I edited it. It was you guys singing me happy birthday. I'm uploading it right now.
All right.
Very, very cultural.
And
They actually said to me, Abdul, actually, over there, when I was over there, confirmed it to me explicitly. I said, if I die in my current state,
I was gonna say because I'm on it, because that wasn't an option. It wasn't an option to say I'm on the video.
It wasn't an option. It wasn't an option that you was on the video.
No, it asked me, like, why do you recommend this video? Like, asked me why is this a good recommendation? They asked me, is it a good recommendation? I said, yes. They asked me, why is it a good recommendation? And because I'm on it is not one of the options.
Did you change your hat?
No, I still the same hat. It's just wet on top.
Oh, okay. I was.
It's like it's uploading. I don't know if you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you can't see the ball. It's like right on the end. They're approving it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wait a second. Verily, Allah has cursed the battle kitty and prepared for them a blaze, abiding therein forever. What the fuck?
Happy birthday,
God is a law. That's polytheism. We believe God is a law. In polytheism, we straight up believe God is a law. There's no other God but a law. You are a polytheistic God. There's no other God but a law.
Oh my God.
I'm striving to be a polytheistic God when I die. You will say there's no other God but there's just a law. The law. The law can favor.
A law is the law.
Well, I'm just better.
Is the law.
The law. The law that
A law is the law. Is the law. La la la.
There's no other God but just a law. If you're a polytheistic God, there's no other God but a law.
La la.
That's why
La
God
la la. La 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 la.
I'm not so big. He's not he has another pantheon there. My pantheon is separate.
Hey, Allah. I know I asked you, but I promise you I'ma get the fuck up off of YouTube, Allah. I'ma quit making a mock of you. Gonna quit apologize too.
And go over there. But
Hey, Allah. I know you throw those Christians in hell, and I'ma stop placating my religion to these people. I'ma stay true. Hey, Allah. La 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 la. La 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 la.
God.
Hey, Allah.
It's
Allah.
an objective web.
Say Allah's name again, Matt.
If it's how can something be objective about humanity, but also be like pantheism, but it's also objective about what the conscious, what well-being is. Subjective about power. It's subjective about what kind of animal you are, like your species. If we're human, what is the law of being human? For being human, there's natural law for every animal of what kind of species it is about how well it's going to do in its life, how it's going to feel, how it's going to think. There's a natural law for every species, and you are human nature. What is the law for human nature? Right? Human nature, being the human species that we are.
Tell them that it's human nature.
We're emotionally satisfied.
Why?
Satisfied.
Oh, why?
Whether we're well, whether we're all together. Are we intentional people? Do we think intentionally? Okay. Do we? Not like you don't control your mind. You are your mind. Are you intentional? Yeah, it's a process. And that's why the religion is there's no other purpose but religion, but to make you well all togetherness. Learn about all togetherness. Don't end this until we get. I got my video. I'm gonna send it to you.
That was poetry, man.
I love you.
I love you too. Even though I'm at the bottom of your list.
Alright.
I'm gonna get the link and send it to Tyler.
You gotta put me at the top of your list. Top 10 favorite black people. I appreciate that.
I don't
You
know.
are currently not. You're currently number 1, 2, 3. You're 4. It goes Jermaine Bishop, Christine Evans, then you, and then Jamar.
Who knows Christine
Jamar
Evans?
said,
Is she single?
I'm not his. He doesn't have a third best friend.
Wait, what? Jamar says you're not his
BFF
third?
growing up. Jamar told me his brother is first. Smoke is second. He doesn't have a third. I'm not being third. Fourth place. Bishop, Pastor
Hey, I'ma tell you about what I'm about to do. I know I act a fool, but I'm gonna get the fuck up off the YouTube. Hey, I know I'm making ass of myself, and the name is but I know I'm reading you. I'm gonna stop doing this shit soon. I gotta tell you about this friend of mine. I let the lighter shine. He's a lot. He came into my life and made me from a redneck to a damn Muslim, and now I'm fucking cool as fuck. Yeah, it's uncontradictory. You can't bring me no eternal critique, no. I'ma stay fucking praising you. I'ma hit you down, put my head in game for you. Yeah, I get my Allah on. I don't give a fuck. I got some follow on. Yeah, because this is my life, man. I grow my fucking beard out. Fuck my wife, man. La 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 la. Hey Allah. La 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 la.
Thug life.
La 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 la. Hey Allah. La 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 la. I know you gonna burn those Christian things. La 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 la. Hey Allah. I know you created me for hell, along with the jinn that nobody can see. You rub the lamp and they come out and give me wishes 3. Yeah, I'ma wish for a magic carpet. I'ma wish for a fucking pot of gold.
Princess Jasmine. That'd be a good wish.
I'm gonna fly my magic rug to you. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
La 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 la.
Oh.
La 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 la. Hey Allah. You like my song?
That says Hey Mama.
This is Hey Allah.
Hey Allah.
Yeah, Hey Allah.
Allahu Akbar.
I'm gonna get another beer. It's like I'm going to be burned in hell forever. Anyway.
Yeah, you're going to hell, Taylor.
It says it right here.
I can't believe it.
Oh, never mind. That's right. I changed the Quran to Battle Kitty. But I go to hell for changing the Quran, don't I? I'll be in there with Matthew's faggot ass. They're annoyed by Matthew's faggot ass in the Islamic hell forever and ever.
Verily, Allah has cursed the Battle Kitty and prepared for them a blaze.
Daz, what do you think about all this? What do you think about all this, gay British guy? Look at James got the fuck up out of here because he knows we're getting death threats tonight. What do you think about all this, Daz?
Oh, cool. Tyler, check your Facebook messages. I posted the video.
Why are you calling me? I'm online with you in a live video.
I want you to check the video. For my birthday, I made a video special for the show. I made a video and that was for the show. It was great. I made it while we were doing it at the end.
Matthew, are you really gonna ruin your birthday stream? Is that beer?
I made a video for my
That's
birthday.
Mountain Dew, dog.
That's Mountain Dew. When you called me, I was recording the conversation, and I edited it together and made a video of you singing me happy birthday.
Hey, Allah.
Can you review my video?
La 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 la. La
You
la la
didn't do my
la.
pick earlier? My pick?
La 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 la. Hey,
How
Allah.
about we review it after we review this debate?
Yeah, that
Or,
shit gonna be stuck in our head for that shit's gonna be stuck in our head all night.
I'll be at work and shit tomorrow.
Hey, Allah. Matthew inspired that shit too. Matthew sitting there saying, Allah, 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 Allah. And I'm just thinking that shit. Hey, Allah. He brought it. I remember that. That's the dropout. You remember when Kanye West was good?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the dropout. Or the late registration. That was the second one.
Oh my gosh.
Late registration. That was slapping, dude. I remember when that came out. That shit was slapping, bro. The first Kanye was good. The second Kanye was fire.
Yeah, Kanye did drop off, man.
That was a good idea. The late registration.
You ready to get back into this? Let's do this.
Hey,
how long we got left on this, John? Because I gotta get ready and yeah.
I cannot believe Allah cursed the battle kid.
I'm saying she's a gold digger.
I cannot believe it.
She ain't fucking wet, no, bro, niggas.
Like, what the fuck?
That shit was slapping. Slapping. Lights.
Yes, that joint was popping and shit. Like real rap.
Lights.
I love that joint.
Yeah. That shit was the shit, man. That's late registration. The late registration. That's
Workout
the
plan.
album.
That's that shit.
That's the rock. Oh, goddamn.
Welcome to the good life.
Yeah.
Matthew.
33, 64 to 65.
Matthew, how old are you now?
39.
So we have 365 days until you're a 40-year-old virgin.
That's right.
And based upon what I went through in life,
welcome to the good life.
I'm the most
The life I live. I'm telling me I'm crazy. Me and my grandmama telling me crazy. I'm gonna think
I want a woman.
You want a woman?
I want to marry my first girlfriend. Okay?
I bet you do, Matthew. I bet you do. And you know what, man? As much as my body wants to tell you that's a stupid idea, my body wants to tell you that's your only fucking option, you fucking little loser. Here, let's put you on. Happy birthday, Battle Kitty.
Not like me for who I am. Thinking about losers that I can't look up to. I can't look up to a loser. I want to look up to, and she tells me for who I am. So for what I went through when I was crippled, yes.
You gonna sell all those action figures you got there, buddy?
No, I'm gonna open them one day.
I want to open them with you.
They're not expensive. They're just decorate. They're actually
Flash it.
I just want to be there with you when you open them bad boys. I'll help you open them and everything.
When I was a kid, I could never have too many Legos. I did not have enough Legos. I had a lot.
I thought that was.
Legos.
Is that what most of them are?
It's for one day.
You put them together and shit.
Shooting stars.
One day I probably
she believes in shoes and cars.
I gotta
chips to Florida, order straight from the water, straight full page of your favorite author. See, Kanye West was good back in the day.
All right, let's get back into this debate, guys. Matthew.
I'm like, when I get off of this live, I'm gonna be listening to the late registration.
You gonna be listening to that shit? I've been listening to that shit at work, man.
I remember that shit. Throwback. That shit was cool. That was a good album when that shit came out. That was like 2002 or something like that.
Hell yeah, man.
That was
shit, time flies. This is about to be 20 years.
That was a good, yeah. No, maybe like 2005. I think the first was what was the college dropout. The late registration was slap. Every fucking song on that album was fucking fire. Never heard him say nothing ever promised tomorrow today. Tomorrow today.
My favorite Kanye album is the 308 Heartbreaks. I love
808
that
Heartbreak.
Oh, 808.
So
yes. I'm sorry, I love that, John. Some people are like, that's not even a good album. I'm like, yo, that's a good fucking album. Every track is like a breakup song. It's like, it's fucking
How could you
amazing.
be so dark to evil? I really don't know. Why you gotta be so mad at
Mad
me
at me
for?
for. Oh my god. Alright. Alright, come on guys. Let's get back on track. Let's get back on topic. Let's get on this. We got about
What is left?
about
I want to
less
go listen to my
than
Kanye West album.
17
Let's
minutes.
do this shit.
Rejecting Islam, will I go to hell? And he said yes, but only if you die in your current state because you don't believe in it. So that's what he confirmed. I don't want to misrepresent, but you can go back and see that.
Yeah.
So they
I'll
also
take a
believe
look at it. I'll definitely take a look at it. But I'm simply just saying, to become an atheist, like, did you go into some sense of like maybe deism, or like while you were on your way out, did you go into like a deist view? Like, I didn't hear that part of your summary.
Yeah, I kind of skipped that. I didn't throw the baby out immediately. I was stuck in some phase where I wasn't entirely sure if God exists or not.
When did Khalil go to deism?
One day I just came to the conclusion. I realized, man, hell, it doesn't make sense. I can't justify it. So I told myself, okay, I'm not a Muslim. I don't believe in Allah anymore. And I was not sure whether God is real or not. So I was rather in an agnostic, slightly deistic phase. It took another year or so until I concluded that God doesn't exist.
Gotcha. Okay. So I would say I think we're running low on time. But I do have one last question. Now, when I was stating that I went through my process, and at the very end of the process, I used the process of elimination to look at all the worldviews that have been presented to me and do a dive on them and figure out if they are logically contradictory or not. In the same sense that I did that in reverse, did you do the same thing and went through all of the other belief systems, reading the Bible, reading the Torah, reading the Bhagavad Gita, and all these other holy books to see if something may rekindle your belief or
He
Yeah,
pronounced
actually,
it wrong.
just 2 years ago, I
It's
was very
Bhagavad.
close to believing in God again, and I was thinking
End
about
this shit,
I was
Dan.
thinking of
End
joining
it.
a certain religion.
Yeah.
I have been on the pursuit of truth ever since. I have never given up. I'm currently studying psychology and religious studies, which I'm kind of trying to focus on. I take from certain religious beliefs, so I'm still always there. I will never claim that I know the absolute truth. That's something else. I will always leave the possibility open that something might be true while I completely accept it as false. If that makes sense.
Boss
That
man's
was
here.
almost perfect timing to the 30 minutes. It's amazing how fast 30 minutes goes. I told Khalil that I hope this ends in a 3-parter.
Not on Debate the
Keep it on
Facts.
your channel, and then you guys go on his, and just keep this thing going. So I do have questions. It looked like initially the majority of the questions were for Khalil. So what we'll do is the questions for you,
bet.
we'll throw it to you, and
The
then
Khalil is
the
a
other participants can
questionable
I'll just leave.
individual.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you to the viewers. Please consider liking and subscribing. Please consider joining me in 45 minutes when Matt Dillahunty comes on to have a conversation about the resurrection as well, if you're interested. First question was one sent to me on Facebook. It says, "Hi Khalil, Christian J. Watkins here. What would you say to criticism of your faith that says your deconversion was hasty and unfounded, not necessarily false, especially given you believe without finishing the Quran? Is it fair for someone like me to be skeptical of your position?"
Real quick. So yeah, that's the
He's
kid
basically asking
that's
an atheist.
that's the fucking baby that fucking had Justin calling me a transphobe and shit. To answer
Oh
the baby's
yeah,
question.
I remember that. I remember. We got to do that one again. You remember that shit?
Yes, I'm a
That was-
man. I'm a man.
Well, Justin, you know that the progressive atheists are going to cancel you if you see that it's supposed to be a progressive show.
Oh my goodness. To answer his question, is it fair for you to be skeptical?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you
how do
my
you deal with the
answer real quick.
atheists, Justin? How do you deal with
Yes,
the big
it's
ugly
fair.
atheists rearing their heads in reality?
No. answer this question?
It's fair to be skeptical of the position. For one, I don't think that it was hasty. I think that this was a process that was, like I said, 8 to 10 months of me really diving into just Islam itself. For most of that time, for the majority of that time, diving into the arguments that these Muslim philosophers were making. So I would say that also. I'm trying to remember the other parts.
For 8
You're breaking up there,
and
Taz.
not read the Quran. The fuck is wrong?
The Muslim philosophers, Daz.
Yeah.
The Muslim philosophers.
The weeaboos.
Look, he's looking up at the sky where he's got his notes written down on what to say. It's a weird place to put your script, on the roof.
Oh my goodness.
The question that he asked. So, would it be reasonable for him to doubt it? Yes, because he wasn't really around me too often. I know Christian very empathetic to people's position, so I know Christian doesn't mean any harm by this.
He's not empathetic.
I would say that
that little twerp's not empathetic to anyone's position except his own.
Now, but he's saying that Christians' disbelief in Allah is justified, even though Allah's brought the clear evidence, and he's going to burn him in hell.
Yeah.
Hey, Allah. I know you're going to burn
Khalil,
Christian in hell, but he really means well.
You can be doubtful about my conversion, but that's the other thing that he said. Without fully reading the Quran, can someone have a reasonable belief in abiogenesis or evolution without being an expert in the field? So I do think that even though I haven't fully finished the Quran, I can be convinced of the truth of Islam, as long as I am open-minded and honest enough to say that I could be wrong.
I think I completely agree with that. I think you don't have to be 100% knowledgeable about something in order to accept that it is true. I mean, I think it would be reasonable to have a proper foundation as to why you believe a certain worldview is true, a certain religion is true. It doesn't require that you know every single thing about it.
Alrighty, the next question. It says, would Khalil publicly leave Islam if he was shown that Islam was false in contradiction to his reason for joining?
Yep.
He said, yeah.
Yeah, just like he publicly joined, he'll publicly leave.
I love it. I think, very honest, Khalil, I think I really love this conversation. I love your attitude. This is the best conversation with a Muslim that I have ever had. I love your stance and your attitude. I would love to also invite you over to my channel sometime. But yeah, let's go.
Alrighty, next question. Khalil, how do you respond when someone asks, how can God exist when he needs men to enforce his rules?
I would just reject the statement that he says men need to enforce his rules. I don't think that logically follows. I mean, I could give many different reasons why I don't think that men need to enforce his rules. I think that men do enforce his rules.
All right, the next question. I'm sorry, I'm having to look at the screen. I probably need glasses as I get older.
Fine.
How does Khalil feel about, that sounds a little funny, that Islam is currently the only religion that prevents people from leaving it by threats of capital punishment? How is it the true religion if there is no choice?
I actually know that this is false from personal experience. When I left atheism, I received about 3 or 4 different death threats. So it's not.
I wanted to hear what he had to say.
I hate how they talk about how Justin's got to leave Islam, like Islam's some cheating wife or something. And they got all the proof.
Oh my god.
He knows from personal experience that Islam is not the only religion that does that. Or he knows from personal experience that Islam does not do that. even though there's a bunch of ISIS people saying they believe in Islam that do exactly that. Let's hear
Exactly
about his
that.
personal experience, if there is any.
How does Khalil feel about feel about that sounds a little funny, that Islam is currently the only religion that prevents people from leaving it by threats of capital punishment? How is it the true religion if there is no choice?
I actually know that this is false from personal experience. When I left atheism, I received about 3 or 4 different death threats from other atheists saying that they were going to kill me.
Atheism
So it's
is
not
not a
necessarily
religion.
capital punishment, but I was being told that my life was going to be ended because I was no longer an atheist.
I want to see the receipts for
I would
those threats.
contest that if I may. The issue here, the difference is that atheism doesn't have any doctrines.
Yeah.
Other religions don't have specific certain instructions, although the Old Testament does contain certain instructions on punishing those who incite others to leave their religion and worship other gods. They don't have the same issue. Islam has the problem of directly instructing, in Muhammad's words, to kill those who leave the religion, which is why so many Muslims in our time still believe in the same thing. That makes it, of course, very problematic on a moral level.
Yeah, so a quick question, because AP, you're probably much more knowledgeable than me when it comes to this. Does every single country that did or does follow the Sharia follow that exact that capital punishment?
Not necessarily, no. Well, in our time, if you ask the most traditionalist Orthodox Muslim groups, they will argue that there is no proper country that truly follows the Sharia. According to them, in the true Sharia, that law would be applied. There are certain Islamic republics, Islamic states in our time that don't fully apply such a law, but they apply variants of it.
From what I've heard is that what most of the countries do in recent days is give you a specific time period. Let's just arbitrarily say 3 days to sit down with an imam or a sheikh of some sort and try to bring you back to the fold of Islam and say, hey, my bad, I made a mistake, and then you're good to go. And if you don't, they kind of like take you to the border and kind of like when you kind of get rid of that dog, just kind of like, all right, run away now. You just take him to the edge of the country and say, you're not allowed in here. You know, basically they throw him out.
Well, what is actually true is that, you know, in Islam there are these in Islamic history that there are the 4 jurisprudential schools within Sunni Islam. Depending on those 4 jurisprudential schools, they have different rulings on how this apostasy penalty is applied. Some of them say that you should give 3 days for a person to return. Others say that you don't have to give that. But I think they all agree on one thing, which is that if somebody has been hostile toward Islam, then even if he repents, he will still be put to death. When you ask the traditionalists, they will not necessarily abide by these jurisprudential schools, but go to the original text and judge by it, directly executing a man who leaves Islam and publicly says it. So that is the traditional approach to it. In recent times, of course, things have changed a little bit.
Alrighty, and the next question says, Khalil, based on many reliable historical, screen froze. Can you guys read that? It's not popping anymore.
Go ahead. I was going to say, based on many reliable historical attestations and archaeological evidence, virtually all scholars affirm Jesus was crucified. Do you realize this before converting to Islam? Yeah, when I actually argue against Christianity, I grant everything that you claim that the Bible says, that Jesus was God, that he was crucified. I do all of that stuff and then go into a philosophical nature of dismantling the logical problems within the key tenets of Christianity. So yeah, I just go ahead and grant all that for conversation's sake. I think the Quran is actually very, very vague when it comes to this. It just states that Jesus was not crucified, that he did not die on that day, and I think that's pretty much where they draw the line, and there's not much more information after that.
All right, I have one last question that came from Messenger. This is from a mutual friend, Daz Greenwood. If Muhammad was literal, how could he cross-check the message he received to the message written down?
If Muhammad was literal?
My dyslexia.
Illiterate.
This was just a lesson in dyslexia, ladies.
Okay, yeah. What was the question again? If he was illiterate,
yes.
What's the rest of it?
How could he cross-check the message he received to the message written down?
I don't think he was the one that cross-checked it. I think that he had scribes write it down, and as he was writing it down, people were memorizing it, and the people who memorized it and wrote it down were able to cross-reference it between each other, the ones who were literate of writing.
I actually wanted to bring that up as a problem and ask you how you trust that process. I made a whole video about that thing. The idea is that the teaching is that Muhammad received revelations from the angel Gabriel, revelations which came from Allah directly to him. No other person can really verify these revelations and their nature and how they were delivered to him. He then recites these revelations to people around him. Those people around him memorize those revelations or make notes of them. And after Muhammad dies, many of these people who memorized it die. And then the Caliph says, hey, if more of these people die, we will lose the whole Quran. Let's put this all together and make a book of it. And then they go around gathering all the different memories and notes and turn it into the whole Quran. But it's very hard to trust that entire process, to me, honestly.
I can understand that.
Alrighty, guys, if you want to plug what's going on next, your channels, future videos.
Oh, that's it? No question.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen.
Back to some time.
It's finally over.
That is...
What a fucking snore fest.
No snooze. Oh my gosh, I was ready to take a nap, you know.
My fellow
ASMR.
Antonio was talking about, like, here, I don't want to prostitute. Okay, so instead of that, he said maybe we could do something else. And I said, I'm Magic the Gathering booster box. It would be great. Like,
No. No.
So he said, you can't go chip
No.
in.
No.
$10 a person.
No. No.
Like $10 a person.
No.
I'll chip in.
No.
$10 each.
No.
Like, get the gift card.
No.
$10 card and send it to him. And
Fuck your Magic the Gathering. You have enough of that.
A Magic the Gathering booster box. You can get it for as low as 80.
No.
80 is like the first one I got.
No.
The box. I'm really interested in this now.
No.
They're like 100 to 80 to 100.
No.
It's like half the price of retail.
Nope.
Okay, can you play my birthday video when you sang me the song? I shared the link with Tyler. Who has the video? I shared with you, baby.
Yeah, share it with me.
Yeah, because you're doing the thing. I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. I said it to Tyler.
Well, he can share it too.
Okay, I'll share.
I know you got fingers.
I love you.
Tyler, you got fingers.
Okay, I sent it to you. You
I'd rather get you a hooker.
Okay, I sent you the video. It's my birthday video. It's about 5 minutes. I edited like a 15-minute conversation down to 5 minutes, and it's really exciting. I got all the good parts. I changed some parts around so it flows like it was in that order.
Okay.
This also shows that I could edit. I could put together the Troublemaker's movie. If we do one, I have 2 ideas. 2020, where we reenact 2020, trying to be famous. And at the end, it goes viral when we towards, like you say, Donald Trump won the election. And it goes
Tell
viral.
Battle Kitty to fix his mic.
And the second movie I want to do is Yeet Islam Dawa, where Tyler gets on a thing where he's really enthusiastic. He's a Muslim now. And Taylor, he converts me to Islam. We're kind of skeptical, but he has an ulterior motive. And he just coerced me to be a Muslim. And I went along with it.
J-Tar. No, there we go.
Oh my God.
Alright, never mind.
This is the birthday video where they called me and told me happy birthday.
No prostitutes, guys.
I have underwear on.
I'm done. Okay.
I'll play. I have underwear on. It's not naked. It's appropriate.
La 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 la
Oh my god. Is that a whole bunch of boxes of Air Jordans Battle Kitty has in the background? That's hilarious.
It's the Battle Kitty birthday.
Hey, la 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 la.
It's the Battle Kitty birthday.
Hey, Matt. Your birthday been over with, dog. We over here on the West Coast. You on the East Coast. It's like, what? 10, 11, 12, 13. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning over here, dog. Your birthday been over for an hour. Na na na. Na 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 na.
Hey, you know I'm gonna be true. I'm only prostrate to you. Gonna act good. La 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 la. Hey,
Hey, la la. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
What the fuck? You got me my video.
Unmute yourself, Matt. Unmute yourself.
Oh my god, play my video. What the fuck? The grand finale of my birthday extravaganza.
You mad as shit, dog.
Let's play his gas little video.
Terrible.
Let's play his gas little fucking video.
Yeah, there we go. I got you. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Alright, you ready?
Just watch it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm ready.
It's not more gay than normal.
This is gonna be the best tape ever. I'm gonna love this tape, yo. I got a
you're
birthday tape to remember it.
You're right, though, man.
Okay, good.
Guys, this is beautiful. Oh my god, guys.
I've never met anybody that likes happy.
What the fuck is this nigga doing? I'm fucking dead. I love you, man. But yeah, definitely being straight fast with all this shit.
I'm so happy. Yeah.
This nigga really had a whole camera recording himself talking to us.
I ain't get no fuck. It was Christmas time, you know what I'm saying? I'm spreading the cheer. I wish an atheist would have walked up to me and been like, it is Happy Island.
When you were working for Salvation Army, you were like Santa Claus. Did you dress up as Santa Claus? Cause Salvation Army always dresses up like Santa Claus. Were you Santa Claus?
No, not Santa hat. I had a hat. I wasn't Santa Claus. I was pretending to be Santa.
No, but were you wearing a Santa Claus outfit?
No, I wasn't wearing no whole damn outfit out there. It's the to Arizona, dog. This ain't like if it was Philadelphia, you gotta wear the whole outfit with a down coat, and I would have had on gloves and everything. I was out there in shorts, short sleeve, an umbrella because it was raining at that time, and fucking chilling.
So you weren't dressed like Santa Claus?
No.
Were you dressed like a black summertime Santa Claus?
Why I gotta be a black?
Well, but you were not a summertime Santa Claus, like a summertime Santa Claus, like you got the fucking.
Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like a robbery in progress.
Wait a minute, I gotta ask Rebe a question. Rebe, but you know what? You gotta thank Taylor again. I'm telling you, man. Taylor put this together.
Yeah. Can we sing it again?
No.
Okay, only Taylor. Now it has to be Taylor alone.
No, I already told you. I'm not gonna sing the little faggot happy birthday over and over again. I'm so excited with that faggot shit, man.
You guys are monsters. Raby, where are you going? I'm like, you guys.
Have this birthday song fucking 200 fucking times. The fuck? You're lucky to get one.
I'd have anxiety if the fucking Wazoo people called me and started singing happy birthday. Like, what the fuck is going on?
You guys, this meant so much to me. I love you so much. You're my best friends forever. Okay, my online best friends are my primary friends, but my long-term friends are my lifetime best friends. And when I get girls, I'm not gonna replace you with females. It's gonna be a list of my female best friends. When I get girlfriends, you're still gonna be my best male online friends. But then I'll have a separate list for female online friends because I really believe in favoritism and ranking people. Okay, I really believe in ranking people. Right now, the list is Tyler, Antonio, James Sanders, and Ray Bay. Ray Bay, you're in last place because I've been feeling sketchy about you. But I really care about my friends, and favoritism is very important. Favoritism is very important. Like I always like to be people's favorites, but it's all this list is a very high list because I have so much room to bless people and saying just you're the favorite, like you're on my list. It's a very good list. Okay, not a lot of people can get on my best people list.
It's also your Christmas present too. You know that, right?
I don't get a Merry Christmas song.
No, you don't get a Christmas song. You just got it already. You gotta get it to you 3 times.
But I want a Christmas song too.
You want a Christmas song too?
I want people to sing. I want people to sing "Jingle Bells, Jingle Bells." Matthew is the best.
That's the jingle
Oh
bell.
my god.
Oh my god.
What a right time, it's the right time to rock the night away.
Can we sing Happy Birthday again?
I love that jam. Jingle Bell Rock is the shit.
Hey guys, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I gotta go because my favorite Suicide Girl is live streaming, and I want to make sure I catch the end of it. They gotta go, guys. Your favorite Suicide Girl.
Matthew. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm done.
It's disgusting.
Fucking
And
done with
I
this
find it
nigga.
extremely hypocritical for people to